So I have a problem. Well, not like a problem, it's very first world, but still it's annoying and it needs to be fixed. It all started many years ago on my main channel, The Tired Craftsman. Maybe go check it out, you might like it. Where I made this kind of like wrist-mounted, spring-loaded blade prop. It's supposed to be the primary weapon used by a group of characters that are like antagonists in the story elements of our videos over there. And it does function, but not as consistently or as conveniently as we would like it to. See, the issue with the original design here is when it's worn on your arm, it's fine. But when you put a sleeve over it, there's a lot of exposed parts that can cause a problem. Like this right here, I suspect gets caught on sleeves pretty easy, and like the spring is rubbing up against the fabric. So there's a lot of opportunities for things to get caught inside of a sleeve with this design. Also, sometimes this gets a little tight, like up at the elbow when you're bending your arm. It's a whole thing. Also, sometimes it has this habit of horrifically swinging off of the track when it's not lubricated correctly. So yeah, that's not good. That's a bit of a safety hazard. And we're going to be filming something soon where a blade goes off near somebody's head and we really don't want to detach it. So we're going to have to make a more sturdy design to eliminate that concern. This one was made from a drawer sliding track, and it works, it gets the job done, but I think we can improve this by kind of like making our own custom thing, build it from scratch. One thing that I really need to do is I think whatever makes the blade shoot, whatever stretchy thing I use, is going to have to be housed under it. The reason I didn't do that for this one was because you see how the spring, it takes up a certain amount of space even when it's compressed. And my concern was that if I put it under the blade, then it would limit how far the blade could go out. So I had a certain length that I wanted the blade to shoot out to. I wanted it to, at least pass my fingers a little bit. I feel like that's a good length to look intimidating. I don't know, at the time, this made sense to me to do something like this so that the spring wouldn't get in the way of how far the blade could go out. But I can see now after using it in several shots, where it's in a sleeve, it's just not gonna work. And I'm thinking I want to put some sort of bolt and have it run down like a slit or something so that the knife can't come off the end. Because, that's the last thing we need, a blade flying off at an actor. And I think those are the main things that need to be fixed on it. There might be a couple things that occur to me along the way, but from the top I can say definitely house all this inside so it's not rubbing against any fabric, and make sure that this is secured down in a much better way. So let's see if we can make that work. We always make our prop blades out of aluminum because it's fairly inexpensive and it's soft, which makes it really easy to cut. It's actually a pretty common thing to make prop swords for films out of aluminum as well, like in Lord of the Rings. If I recall correctly, a lot of their hero swords were made out of aluminum. So basically we're just like Lord of the Rings. I'm using a bandsaw for speed, but any handsaw meant for metal should cut right through this stuff. Like I said, it is really soft. Right now I'm cutting out like a sort of hook that's going to be at the back of the blade, and like this little L-shaped piece to act as a trigger mechanism. And I'm grinding it a bit to smooth out all these rough edges because they can definitely cut you up if you don't smooth them out a bit. And after that I used a Brillo pad to sand the surface up a bit. You won't ever get like a high polish or anything like that with this type of stuff, but that's not really what I'm going for. I don't want it to be too shiny on camera. I just want it to have a sort of somewhat consistent finish. And going back to the belt sander to put a fake edge on it real quick. Remember, it is just a prop, so we don't need or want it to actually be sharp. The tip is still a bit dangerous though. Then I'm going to use some JB weld to attach this nut over this hole that I drilled in the blade. I'm going to use a bolt to attach it to the housing, and I don't want the bolt to slant when it's being pulled as the blade is being fired. So hopefully permanently fixing this nut to it will help with that a little bit and keep it in the right position so it doesn't squeeze everything down. I'm not sure if I articulated that well, but just trust me, there's an issue and this'll fix it. Then to make the housing, I cut up some thin plywood and I made this bed for it to lay in with these kind of guardrails glued on the sides, and I put them on the top and the bottom because I need the top ones to guide the blade down straight, and the ones on the bottom are to give some clearance between your arm and the bolt moving down the track. And to solve that spring issue that I had mentioned earlier, I decided to instead use a rubber band. This will compress way more than a spring would, and it's still plenty strong enough to move the blade down. Though it will wear out and need replacing after a while, but it's easy enough to put a new one on. And, this isn't meant to be like a real tool that's supposed to stand up to heavy use, it's just going to be for the shot, so yeah, it's good enough. And just to be sure that nothing interferes with the bolt and the rubber band as they travel down the slit, I'm going to attach a thin piece of polystyrene to close it all up, and of course add some Velcro straps so it can be wearable. I also painted it black to help it stand out less than the dark shots we often do, and finally tie a piece of rope to the trigger and run it down the sides so that the wearer can fire it by bending their wrist and pulling it. And here's a quick side-by-side of the original and the now completed version 2. I'm feeling pretty confident in the new design, but just to be sure, let's go get one of the extras to throw a robe on and compare them.
I hate this so much. It's not one thing, it's another. It's on the spring. This doesn't stay in place very well, mainly because of the straps. Kinda hard to reload. Got a good trigger though. This whole spring mechanism gets in the way when you're using this. Bounces around a lot on your arm. Makes it come out at weird angles. Let's see. Sleek, compact design, very wieldy, easy to hide for midnight mass. Very nice in a pinch. Whoop. Easy reset. Oh yeah. You really outdid yourself this time. Really minimized my hatred of you on set. This is so nice to wear. Easy to reload. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's nice.